Today, we take you along with us while we get our tiny home delivered. And, of course, things don't go as planned. Welcome back to our channel, Big Island Tiny Home. My name's Sarah.
I'm Sean.
We finally made it to Vancouver Island to meet up with our tiny home driver. It was actually pretty cool to drive up and to see our home attached to the truck. It's very surreal. It was really happening.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah. There was a little bit of miscommunication, as we talked about in the last episode. But again, I'm gonna let you know the driver had a deadline to get back home, so he needed to catch a ferry at like 3 o'clock, somewhere like that. We got the call from him at 11, and we were in Vancouver, so it was about 2-3 hours commute to get to where he was.
There wasn't going to be enough time, essentially. So what I told him sternly over the phone was, you're delivering this house today, and it's going to take longer than 3 o'clock. If that's an issue, you need to talk to your boss, because this has nothing to do with us.
Yes.
And that's where we left it. He got pissed off, rightfully so, fair enough. But there's miscommunication within the company, there's miscommunication externally as well, and that's just the output of it. At that point, we need to get him from where he's at with the tiny home all the way to where we want the home to be. And that's no easy task, apparently.
Yes. So we don't think that he was like a professional tiny house driver, because he was that plus his timeline just made him like super anxious and nervous and upset. So
yeah, it was like nothing but swearing. We took a couple wrong turns because there was bridges, and the bridges were too low. So we got around the first one, but I didn't realize there was going to be a next one, so we had to circumvent that one as well. And then by the time that all happened and we got close to the property that we're putting the house on, you can't actually Google map the exact direction to the property. So I had to go off of memory, which was 6 months old.
yeah.
And I made a wrong turn, which forced the house to be up a hill with, it turns out, only a couple places to turn around, and had he done that before, it would have been no problem. And that's why we think that maybe he had very little experience with tiny homes, because the second driver that we got turned it around with no issue.
It was getting dark and he needed to make his ferry, so he just dropped the house on someone's driveway. So that's fun.
And his parting words to me were, "Good luck," and then leaves. And so we then have to draft up a sign to put on the house where people can read it because they live there, so that it doesn't just get outright towed. We put sorry, obviously, very Canadian, and then we put our phone number and that we're moving it as quickly as we can.
The next day, we stay at an Airbnb, and I forget where. It's really pretty.
Mill Bay, I think.
Yeah.
Is that right?
It's probably Mill Bay. Yeah.
Something like that.
It's really nice, but it wasn't where we wanted to be, and we just wanted our house. I was worrying about the house the entire night. I was like, oh my god, is our house still gonna be there?
Yeah.
Oh my god, because it's a huge deal. It's like our house just sitting there,
in someone else's property.
Yeah, exactly.
So
the next day, we call a local tiny house builder, Rewild Homes. Awesome. You talk to them. They gave you a great reference for a driver that they use all the time on the island. So we call him up, and yeah, he's gonna come down and take a look, and seems very confident, so that's great.
Mm-hmm. Then we head to Home Depot in the meantime, just to save logistic time and start buying stuff that we need for the house. I forget exactly what we bought.
I think we needed to buy cinder, the cement blocks.
Oh, right, because the first ones that I bought were not the right ones. They were more of a decorative piece. So we needed to buy flat pieces of cement, basically 2 inches thick by 10 by 10, just so that the platform of the jack that's jacking our house up can rest on something flat and strong. So we're in the middle of purchasing those, and Sarah gets a call from some government agency saying, "Who are you? What's going on with this tiny home that's parked on someone's property?" We have to gently explain that we're as confused as she is, this person calling from the government agency, because we had hired a driver to bring it to a property, just not that one, someone else's.
Yes.
So luckily we were able to get, was it Ken?
Yeah.
The second guy to come that day, and we were like, look, we're having it moved today. And they were like, oh, good. So we won't tow it then. I mean, could you imagine having the government tow our house? Plus, it's a tiny home, which is technically, there's legal ramifications there. It could have been awful. Could have been really bad. But luckily, we moved it in time, so we mitigated that entire mess.
So when we hired the next driver, we also wanted, so we're always been concerned about the road to get up to the portion of the land that we wanted to put our tiny house on. It's a super steep incline. So when the driver came, we asked him about that road to see if it would be okay. Also, like, there was water like slushing out of the ground, so it was like all sloppy in a certain area. So he drove the road and he realized that he gave us his professional opinion because he's been, I don't know, I think he said like 30 plus like tiny houses he's delivered.
Yeah.
So he told us that the incline was too steep and that we would damage the tiny house if we were to try to get it up there. So thankfully we actually had him to kind of give us his opinion. Because if it was the first driver, I'm pretty sure he probably would have tried it, or he would have got freaked out and dropped it right there.
Yeah, so it's like a blessing in disguise. And then we ended up going on a spot that was kind of the third choice, but ended up for now being the best because it was the simplest place to drive in and put the home, and there were 2 already cleared spots along that particular road. So we're nestled like right in the middle of a forest. There's bald eagles roosting on trees. We saw a whole group of elk. I want to say caribou for some reason. It's definitely not caribou.
Yeah.
Come greet us. There was like 20 that came out of nowhere just during a rainstorm. So it's been a really cool experience living in this particular spot, just not our first choice, because our first choice has this insane view of what's called Cowichan Valley and also Salt Spring Island in the background. So we're still hopeful that we can get there. We're probably gonna have to dolly the back end of the house up, and we'll have to get some footage if we choose to do that and show you guys, because it's gonna be a crazy process, but that'll give us close enough proximity to the house to get running water through a hose. Right now we're collecting rainwater, so we're really relying on the weather to help us out. And in the winter, that's fine, but if you go 4 or 5 days without water, that means you're trucking water down from the well, which I'm really glad we have that option, because otherwise we wouldn't have water.
Yeah, we'd be screwed.
Right. We can't say enough how happy we are that we finally have our tiny home. It's in a spot that works. We have water, we now have power, and we're going to be following up with some more videos about those processes, because those 2 things in particular were difficult to implement, yet we got there. It's not the easiest thing to live off the grid in a tiny home, especially if you've never done it before, and especially if you're setting it up for the first time. If you guys haven't done yet, if you could like and subscribe to our channel, it's a no-cost way that you guys can help support us, and it also promotes this information to other people using the algorithms that they use, so that if you found value in this video, that's what you're doing. You're helping other people find value in it. And we're still on the way to 100 subscribers, and once we hit 100 subscribers, we're going to be donating a certain amount of money to a local charity. We'll make a whole video on that. So that's even a no-cost way to donate. If you just hit that subscribe button and you're donating to local charities, so people who can really use the help.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
See ya.